Today we are going to be making men's stilt pants with non-stretch fabric. For the materials, you need non-stretch fabric. I have 4 to 4.5 yards right here. Scissors, something to measure with, pattern paper, and a sewing machine. Take your entire length of fabric and cut it in half. Now you already have 2 pant legs. Because we're only going to be using one pattern piece, and these are very wide, I'm going to take this paper and I'm going to tape it so that it's double the size. This middle part that we taped, this is the out seam, and this runs all the way down from the waist to the bottom of the stilts. Now we're going to draw out each inseam. I'm just gonna mark out how wide this is. So this is roughly 41 inches wide. I'm gonna designate this as the back and this as the front. The crotch seams are a little bit different. I'm kind of just gonna wing it because I'm kind of in a hurry and because I make bad decisions. Okay, now I'm going to draw the front and the back. I'm gonna make the back slightly higher. So this is basically where the pants end. Now we need to figure out the crotchy stuff, where the crotch goes out. Okay, right here we're at 15-inch mark, and over here, let's go down to the 17-inch mark. So the back is sort of a longer, bigger curve, and the front is a shorter curve. So for these pants, typically this would go in and continue going in, but because these are stilt pants, I'm just gonna make it flare out again because I just wanna make sure that the pant legs are wide enough. Okay, now we're doing the back part, and I'm going to basically go all the way to this edge, and I'm going to connect it. I'm just gonna freehand it, maybe one more, because now I'm paranoid. And we're just gonna gradually bring it back to here. All right, now we're gonna cut this out. Okay, now that I have my pattern piece, I'm going to trace it with this piece of chalk. I'm purposely making these pants slightly large. Now I'm gonna cut it out. Alright, so we have one cut out, and we're going to use this to trace with the other one. We are going to use this for the waist. I realize that these are going in the opposite direction, but this is all I have to work with, so no one cares. Lay the first piece on top of your uncut piece, and then you can, if you want, trace it or pin it. I'm just going to cut it just straight on here for the sake of time. Doesn't look like a whole lot, but when you put it together, you are now getting one very large pant leg. We're gonna match up the crotch, and we're gonna sew all the way from the crotch down to the bottom of the pants. This is the inseam.
You know there's a dog like in between your feet.
Yeah. Sew the inseam of both legs. Turn one pant leg inside out and have the other one right side out. The one that's right side out, you're gonna stick it inside of the other pant leg. Match up the inseam, and then you'll notice that both are right sides together. Pin it, it's gonna be a U shape. You can sew up the entire U shape if you just wanna use elastic. I wanted to use buttons, so I made sure to leave some space where I didn't sew it together, because you're gonna do that later. When you're finished, your pants will look something like this, and yes, they are humongous. Then I went ahead and hemmed the top with a serger, and then I added a zigzag stitch where the crotch is, just to reinforce everything. This is the part where things start to deviate because I chose to do a button closure, but if you're gonna use elastic, you can just very simply make an elastic waistband and sew it on the top, and then you're basically done. Here's one piece of scrap material. You can see that I serged it on one side and then I made a little curve. You're gonna pin it to the pant and you're gonna sew that raw edge down, and then you're gonna flip it and sew again to sew it on there. I don't All right, now you're gonna sew it again. I used a straight stitch and I did 2 different stitches of that. Now for the second piece of scrap material. This is what the buttons are going to attach to. You can pin it, sew along the edge. Once you sew it along the edge, go back and then you're going to fold it out and sew it down flat. This is what you're gonna attach your buttons to. You'll need to sew the bottom up a little bit, otherwise there's gonna be a gap. For attaching the buttons, I found the easiest thing to just hand sew it. You can just mark out where you want the buttons and sew them down. Then you fold your other piece over it and kind of feel out where the buttons are, mark it, and then cut those out. I stitched the buttonholes closed by hand. You can do it on the machine. I just really didn't feel the need to do that. I did sew a straight stitch around the buttonholes just so that they don't fray later on. Now that you have the closure, you can pin the top, make sure it's all nice and secure, and you're going to make this fit whoever is going to be wearing it. And I chose to pleat this, which of course when I was doing the pleating, I basically blocked the entire thing. The footage is really not great. Moving on to the waistband, you can fold this in half, sew it up completely, and then you're going to turn the entire thing inside out. I just used an old paintbrush to do it. Once you have everything nice and pleated, you're gonna add the waistband, pin it at the top, and then you're just gonna sew it straight on. I left a little bit of extra material. I cut that, serged it, sewed it up, and that you can add a button in the back. And then for the other side, I just cut it to length, folded it over, and sewed all of that up. The last step is hemming the bottom of the pants. First, I go over with a serger, and then I will fold it over and sew it with a straight stitch. Now you are done with your pants. Hopefully they look something like this. This was actually the night before the gig, so here is footage from the gig. Everything went well. I'm very happy with these pants. These technically are unisex pants, but my first stilt pant making video, I was really tailoring it towards women because the pants were super tight. And so these are nice and loose and baggy, and I actually was trying to go for more of a men's style, but these could definitely be worn by women as well.